also making America safer, taking the DOD, which was going woke and very like an indoctrination center, and creating again that lethal fighting force focused on the mission of
what was happening at the DOD's Department of Defense? What was happening?
If you know even a little about Mehdi Hasan, you already understand he's the last person you want to challenge in a political debate. In today's video, we're going to watch Mehdi Hasan completely break down, expose, and drag this Donald Trump loyalist, Carla Sands, over Trump's first 100 days. As always, we'll watch the entire exchange together, and I'll share my thoughts with you guys toward the end.
If this is what the golden age looks like, God help us when we enter the dark ages of the Trump era.
Right, now let's talk to two leading thinkers of the US political circuit. Carla Sands was President Trump's ambassador to Denmark during his first administration, and Mehdi Hasan is a British-American broadcaster and editor-in-chief of new media company Zetio. Thanks for joining us both.
Happy to be here, Adam.
Happy to see you. Carla, what would be your signature achievement you're looking for in the next 100 days?
Right. Well, certainly it's promises made, promises kept. I'm enjoying the 101st day of the golden age of America. And what I hope to see President Trump do is he's right now in the White House surrounded by some of the top CEOs in the world, and they're talking about the investments that they're bringing to the United States, creating jobs. President Trump has already brought over 300,000 new jobs.
Carla, President Trump has already brought a first quarter of negative economic growth, we learned today.
President Biden was losing 6,000 jobs a month. President Trump has already added 9,000 new manufacturing jobs.
Mehdi?
Yeah, I don't know what the golden age of America looks like, but it surely doesn't look like a 101st day in which we have a negative quarter of growth for the first time since the start of 2022. Let's not forget, at the end of 2024, Donald Trump inherited an economy where the final quarter of growth was 2.4% annualized. Today, we discover the first quarter of 2025 is minus 0.3%. A majority of Americans, including 51% of Republicans, say they believe Donald Trump's policies could cause a recession this year. So, not sure people voted for a recession or for more inflation from tariffs or for the decimation of their 401ks, the worst stock market 100-day performance since Richard Nixon. He has kind of taken an economy which that left-wing rag, The Economist magazine, called the envy of the world, and he's trashing it. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure it's ideology, whether it's grievance. He's obsessed with these tariffs, even though every serious economist in the United States and across the world is telling him stop. Some of his own advisors are trying to tell him to stop, but he's not listening. So if this is what the golden age looks like, God help us when we enter the dark ages of the Trump era.
Carla, you can't argue with the numbers, GDP figures today.
Well, I can. Actually, I can argue with the numbers. So he inherited Joe Biden's numbers. It was an inflated economy from pumping taxpayer money. This was government spending propping up the U.S. economy and creating unsustainable debt. The trillions of dollars of debt President Trump has promised to bring us a balanced budget.
Donald Trump added more to the debt in his first term than Joe Biden did in his term. Actually,
he had COVID hit, so that's a tilt. That's not fair. COVID hit President Trump's best economy in the history of our country in 2019. Now he's bringing that economy back. You're speaking over me. I didn't do that to you. It's not really so polite.
Yeah, let's be polite on the 101st day.
Absolutely.
Carla, I mean, okay, let's say there's another quarter of negative economic growth and we speak in 3 months' time. Is that okay? Is that a price worth paying for what Donald Trump wants to do to the economy?
So what President Trump is doing is, and let's just remind all your viewers, the press in the U.S. covers President Trump 96% negative. It's a miracle he has any positive rating in the polls. But in the U.K. and EU, it's even more negative. So I'm sorry that your media brainwashes you, but the fact is President Trump is doing the hard work of righting the American economy, reindustrializing our nation. We were slipping into a service economy, and you cannot be a great power if you don't make things. You have to manufacture things. You have to make steel and aluminum. You have to be able to make your own ships, and you have to have your own rare earth minerals and prescription precursors.
Okay, let me ask Mehdi if he's been, Carla, let me ask Mehdi if he's been doing any brainwashing lately.
Well, first of all, the manufacturing boom has been, the manufacturing boom was happening on Biden's watch, as all the numbers showed. But in terms of, it's funny to talk about brainwashing when the entire MAGA message is Donald Trump and Fox brainwashing people into believing insane things like the last election was stolen. Last night on American television, on ABC News, Donald Trump tried to claim that a photoshopped image of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man from Maryland, the El Salvadoran who had caught in the US, said could not be sent back to El Salvador. But he defied the court, the Trump administration, sent him illegally back to a torture camp in El Salvador. And Donald Trump went on live TV and 7 times, Adam, 7 times, he said that MS-13 was written on his knuckles, because this was the digitally photoshopped image that Trump was given by his aides and that they put out to right-wing media. It's a photoshopped image. Trump 7 times claimed to the audience that those numbers were really there on his hands. That is the level of delusion and gaslighting and dishonesty in this White House. I mean, every president lies. George Bush lied, Joe Biden lied, or Barack Obama lied. But no one lies like Trump. To take an image that's fake, that's photoshopped, that's demonstrably untrue, and repeat 7 times on national television. No, he had the letters MS-13. Is he mentally competent? We talked about Joe Biden's competence. Is Donald Trump mentally competent? Recently, he told Time magazine, Adam, that he won at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 against Trump and said you must facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They are violating the Supreme Court. They are violating lower courts. That is what they're doing in this 100 days.
Okay, Carla, is your man relying on a doctored image and falling for fake news with that picture?
Adam, I don't want to waste the time of your viewers talking about an inconsequential known gang member. I want to talk about how President Trump has brought $5 trillion of new investment into the United States. How we're making America healthy again by taking the dyes out of the food and finding actually the cause of autism, a heartbreak for so many American families. They're losing their children. And also making America safer, taking the DOD, which was going woke and very like an indoctrination center, and creating again that lethal fighting force focused on the mission of
what was happening at the DOD's Department of Defense? What was happening in the military caused by woke, as you put it, that was so bad, Carla?
Yeah, so the U.S., the DOD under the radical leftists controlling Joe Biden, who your media never talked about as mental incompetence, and everyone saw it even in 2019.
Mental incompetence, you won't even defend.
Mehdi, let Carla finish and I'll come back to you.
If I may, so we saw the Pentagon refocus on the security of the United States instead of doing things like censoring Americans. How about what USAID was doing, destabilizing the world and funding terrorism from U.S. taxpayer dollars? It's unconscionable.
Okay, let's let Mehdi respond to some of the things that you were saying there.
Sure.
Yeah, you said a lot there. I mean, look, what she said about USAID is false. Elon Musk and Doge are super unpopular, have failed, they're being thrown out. She talks about she says she doesn't want to talk about inconsequential gang members. The president, 7 times as the journalist tried to move on, insisted that the journalist concede that words were written on a hand that were not written. That's mental incompetence. He's deluded.
Well, it could just be a mistake, Mehdi. That's not a sign of like a mental fitness.
Hold on, Adam. He held up a photo that was doctored. That was bad enough a week ago. We were told, he didn't mean it literally. And last night he told us he literally believes 7 times that this guy has MS-13 written on his knuckles, a guy who shouldn't even been in El Salvador, and he's defying a Supreme Court ruling that Carla doesn't want to mention. As for making America safe, Donald Trump pardoned 1,300 rioters on his first day in office. His own Vice President, J.D. Vance, his own Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said he wouldn't do it. He did it. He pardoned 300 people who attacked police officers. Can Carla defend that, or does she want to move on from that? How do you defend pardoning 300 people who assaulted police officers, more than 100 police officers? He pardoned them. How are you okay with that?
We're talking about the noise and not what actually matters. Okay. The fact that this Salvadoran, this El Salvadoran citizen had already had a removal order. He had had his day in court. He had had his hearings. He had come in twice. The Supreme Court says 9-0.
He must be brought back. 9-0.
So I don't think that the Supreme Court of the United States actually makes American foreign policy. That comes from the executive. And so sometimes the court doesn't get it right.
It's a due process decision.
But at the same time, we need to see that our country is run in a constitutional way, and we have separation of powers, thankfully. But what I want to focus on is the great things that President Trump and his incredible administration are doing, bringing down the cost of gas.
Does that include pardoning rioters? You haven't answered, Carla. Do you support pardoning rioters who attack police officers?
Again, you're speaking over me.
You didn't answer my question.
You don't even want the viewers to hear the good
I'm just going to pause you both there,
just
in the interest of people making sense of what's going on. Last few words from each of you. Do you think Donald Trump will be celebrating peace between Russia and Ukraine, brokered by him, in the next 100 days? Carla, yes or no?
Wow, that would be an amazing thing, and we should all pray for peace between Ukraine and Russia. I really hope it's successful. He said it would be harder, that the Israel-Hamas war would be easier to solve than the Russia-Ukraine war. I'm hoping that between Putin and Zelensky and these peacemakers that are coming together, that it will be successful so that the killing ends. That would be the most wonderful 200-day celebration. So I hope that you're right, Adam.
Mehdi, any chance?
Adam, I'm glad you asked that question. Trump said multiple times he would solve the war in 24 hours before he entered office. We're now 240 hours in. We're 100 days into this thing, and 2,400. Sorry, I can't even do maths.
Yeah.
2,400 hours later, and he hasn't done it, right? Because he lied.
Mehdi, you have me questioning your mental fitness after that.
I know, my mental fitness, but I conceded I was wrong, and Trump's never done that. 2,400 hours later, he has not solved the Ukraine conflict. He's actually been tougher on Canada and Denmark, our NATO allies, than on Vladimir Putin.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Honestly, guys, every time I watch Mehdi Hasan go head-to-head with one of these MAGA-aligned political operatives, it's a reminder of why he stands out so sharply in today's media landscape. He doesn't just push back, he exposes how fragile these talking points are when they're forced to confront real facts, real timelines, and real accountability. And once again, we saw it clearly here. The moment Mehdi challenged her with actual data, with court rulings, with basic reality, everything fell apart. She sidestepped every question, shifted topics, avoided direct answers, because there simply are no honest defenses for what Donald Trump has done or the policies he continues to promote. This is the pattern we've seen over and over. MAGA surrogates repeat claims that collapse the moment they face scrutiny. They depend on noise, distraction, and culture war panic because they cannot rely on evidence. And when someone like Mehdi brings the facts to the table, the facade crumbles in plain view. So, as always, I want to hear your thoughts. Drop your opinions down in the comments. I read everything, and these conversations matter more than ever. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell so you don't miss future breakdowns, and tap the like button to support the channel and help this video reach more people. I appreciate all of you for being here, for staying informed, and for standing on the side of democracy. I'll see you in the next one.